Heyo everyone, welcome back to Theonopolis. So today we start construction on Odeons Square, or the square in front of the Odeon, and I do think that we will remain in this general area for some time, mainly because I do have a lot of ideas for this area, and you guys know me, if I have an idea, you can't stop me. And I also wanted to just remain in the same area just so that for you guys it's also a bit more overseeable, because I know that when we went from Pharos to the Odeon, we basically went from the left side of the park to the right side, so yeah. Because of that, well, not because of that, that's actually just a complete lie. I just have a lot of ideas, and for the first thing I wanted to have a right, which kind of goes against like a square. Like a square is just mostly generally an open area for, let's say you have a lot of benches there, or just a lot of open space, and then I want to put a ride in there. And it's mainly because I want to have a ride there, because otherwise it's kind of an empty place, considering that the Odeon is, well, it is a ride, but because it's so large, the ride kind of gets swallowed by it. And then you have the coaster right next to it, but then that would be like the only rides in this area, or only attraction. So I wanted to have an attraction here, and I wanted to have a little bit more of a quiet attraction, so that's why the Aeronauts, or I'm probably mispronouncing that, but that's usually when I try to pronounce the name. But that's why I choose this attraction, and also because I just like the round feeling of it, or just not the round feeling, just the round structure. Because I want to build something round. I haven't done that for some time. Well, that's again a lie, because the Odeon is completely round, but I wanted to build a round ride skin, because the Odeon is not technically a... Well, it is somewhat a ride skin, but then also it's complete own entity, as it were. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of test what I could do with a ride skin that was closer to the attraction and actually didn't swallow the attraction. But before that, I also was kind of guessing or thinking about, like, should it be on the left side or the right side when looking from the Odeon to the Acropolis. And there were like two general ideas when it came to, like, oh, why should I put it on the right side, or why should I put it on the left side? The right side, it's, well, it kind of goes with that rounded feeling or rounded structure, because then you can play in with the water side. And on the left side, it's more visible from the main path towards the Odeon. So that was just general, like, where do I want to place it? Do I want to have it like in the main view line, or do I want to have it as a little bit more of like a hidden thing? Because it does kind of fade away behind the stairs. Eventually I did choose the right side. I also choose to put it up so that it's still a little bit seeable or viewable. Because if I put it on just the ground, it would be swallowed by the stairs, as I would say that. So that's why it's on a little bit of a height, so that it peaks just a little bit above it. Like a really tiny bit above it, especially when it's riding or when it's open and the ride goes a little bit up. So then you can just about see it above the stairs. Maybe. If you're a tall person, probably. Which I'm not, but, well, maybe I am tall, but I'm just surrounded by giants. I have no clue where this is going. But anyways, for the ride I wanted to have some kind of layered feel, or, terraced feel, that it's, well, first I wanted to have like some kind of market feel, just like a bit of the same with the Skilla ride or the Octopus ride, where it's like covered in, well, tarp and, well, not tarp, but cloth, so that it looks a bit like a market stall. I first wanted to do that, but then I just thought like, yeah, then I would just be redoing something that I already did before. So that's why I wanted to do something different, and then I wanted to make some kind of like gardeny feel or like shrine feeling, because I mean, you can't build Greek buildings without building at least a dozen shrines or temples, or basically it's not a Greek building if there are no pillars. Don't take that as fact, that's completely untrue. Greek buildings weren't all temples and official buildings. Actually, I am toying around with the idea of just building one building that's completely historically accurate. I have toggled around with this idea, or juggled around with this idea for some time, of like, let's build one building that's completely historically accurate. And I always thought like, oh, maybe like a bakery or something, because it's manageable and it wouldn't feel that much out of place, because again, realistic ancient Greek homes and such are actually a bit small, so they wouldn't fit in like a theme park, but yeah. So maybe that's going to be the next building after Odeons Square is done, that I'm just building a bakery. But back to what we're building. For basically the queue, I wanted straight, like no real rounded things, because it doesn't have a lot of space. Well, the queue just is really confined to a small area, and because of that, of course, you need to, you know, basically build in blocks, almost like basically have, well, a very blocky queue to maximize the space that you use. And because it's, well, the ride is on a height, it also has to go up, so that's why all these stairs, well, not stairs but slopes, which again plays into that terraced feel, which I'm probably again mispronouncing. I mean, I mispronounce almost every word, so that's no news. But for the terraced feel with the gardens and the shrine, it's, well, it's completely historically inaccurate probably, because I mean, there could be like some kind of gardens in this style, but I think that this would be a bit too fantasy-like. I mean, probably this was built on a hill, and then the slopes of the hill were generally just carved out into straight walls, or the walls were built to encapsulate the hill. But I think this would just be a little bit too much of that. So this is a completely historically inaccurate building, but it looks pretty. And it gives the slope or the stairs a bit more volume, as it were. Because otherwise, the stairs leading up to the Acropolis would just be that. It would be stairs, and yeah. It's just giving it a little bit more volume actually makes it a little bit more prominent, or just a little bit like, I know that when looking at the Odeon, the stairs will be completely outshined. Like, there's no going around it. I'm still thinking actually to make the front or the facade of the Odeon even a little bit more fancy, just so that it's like without question outshining everything. Maybe the coaster is like on the same level, but I wanted to give the stairs like a fighting chance. A very unlikely fighting chance to actually draw a little bit of attention. And of course, because it's close to the shore, because that's a bit of a principle I have, or thing that I've handled when it came to nature, there is a lot of palm trees just because it's on the shore. And I have wondered, like, is the water like right next to the Acropolis, or like surrounding the Acropolis, sweet water or salt water? And considering that there are ships and there's like a harbor, I generally think that the water surrounding the Acropolis is probably salt water. I have no clue why or how we went to let's make a terrace ride skin. Now I'm talking about, is the water in Theonopolis sweet or salty? Yeah. I mean, that's basically very normal for my channel right now. Also, I think this is the first time I've used sunflowers. Like, I'm just seeing that right now, that I'm like, I actually don't think I've ever used sunflowers before. Which, in this place is actually somewhat, well, I don't know if I want to keep the sunflowers there. Like, there are like 4, but I'm already thinking like, yeah, they are a bit in the shadow, so they probably should be on a more sunnier place. Yeah. Also, as I said, I wanted to make it look a bit like a shrine, but I didn't. Well, I have the somewhat similar building or ride skin for another ride. If I'm correct, I didn't upload a video for that. It's just on the workshop. But I didn't want to make it completely similar to that one, because, again, I don't want to just keep repeating myself. I want to keep trying to build something new every time. So for that, this ride, or this ride skin doesn't have a roof. Also, because this ride, I thought like, oh, you know, I can put some kind of tapestry or basically some kind of roofing over it, just so that it's, you know, it's covered, so that even in rain it can be used or can be opened. And then I opened the ride to look at like, how high does this ride go? Yeah, it went a bit too high. So the roofing part was easily, well, not easily, but very fast discarded, because I was just like, I'm not going to make these pillars any higher, because then again it would be too similar to something I've already done before. So that's why it's still an open space, and I think it worked out better, because it's just, I don't know, it just feels a little bit more happy as it is. I don't know what I'm going with this, but it's just a little bit more cheerful than if I would have placed a roof on it. So yeah, I'm also struggling with fencing, because I liked the building without fences, but then I thought like, theme park wise, but also just building wise, that would be a safety hazard. Like, even if you think of like, oh, this is just, you know, a historically thing, there would still be a fence there. I mean, it would just be too much of like a health or safety hazard to not have a fence there. Because I think this building is 8 meters high. You can still hurt yourself by making a 8-meter drop. Well, actually, later on when I'm building, you will see that it's not an 8-meter drop, because there's something coming up. But for the rest of the ride skin, which is pretty much done, here you can see me like trying to build like some kind of like, well, temporary roofing, like with cloth and everything, but yeah, it was just, the ride went too high and I didn't want to raise the middle pillar or the surrounding pillar, so I also have no idea why I'm putting greenery there, but it's also the only place where there's greenery. Yeah. But for a lot of things, when I'm building, I actually take like building pieces off of all the, off of other buildings. I don't know what my voice did there. I want to say like, oh, it's the heat, but it's getting colder actually, so I can't use that excuse anymore. But I use a lot of building pieces or colors from other buildings that I've already done, just so that's one cohesive thing, and then like maybe add like one new color every building. Again, so that's a bit more cohesive, and it's not like, I want to say Disney-like, because there it's just color, 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 color. So I want to have a bit more of a cohesive, a bit more of a sort of natural feel to Theonopolis. So that's why I usually pick like a building piece from one building that's near the area or just has the same kind of like function or basic building style. But for this area or this kind of I think this is going to be the next word that I have forgotten. This pier? It's not a pier, but it's also not... Yeah, this is going to be the next word I've forgotten. But this is where basically a boat can a little bit anchor. Like it's still a small area for, well, a boat. But I wanted to make this because I just felt like it. Like I just wanted this area to feel a little bit more urban. Like I first thought of making this like a cliffside, but then I was like, this is supposed to be a bit more of the urban area of Theonopolis, so a cliffside would not be, you know, it could be there, but I just didn't want it. And basically I just put a ship there, and now I'm building a really small stoa, or just a covered area where I think mostly this area would be either visitors to the shrine that would go here and would like dock here to visit the shrine, because it's like it's right next to the shrine. But I also wanted to include a little bit of like fishing area, or like this would be the place where fishers would dock, which is kind of weird because I think those would mostly be in the harbor area. But I mean, if you have water, why don't you use it? Yeah, that's also why I used the bluer color in the frieze. It's not really a frieze because it's basically more of a fence, but it has the same aesthetic feel as a frieze. I have no clue what this is. I'm going to look this up. But anyways, this is probably one of the very few of these stoas that I didn't, you know, build a sloped roof on top of. You can, if you pause the video at the right moment, I have already done that, but I have tried to put a roof on there, but it's just, it goes up too high, the slope is too high, so it would just interfere with the ride on top of it. And in a way it works that it has a flat roof, because that's just more storage space, basically. I did, however, forgot to put in a crane, which is probably needed if I want to use the excuse that the flat roof is just more storage space. But here I'm just covering up a mistake, because though I know how to build round buildings, I'm not incredibly good at them. So there was one mistake there, and I quickly covered it up by using a mural or a mosaic, and it kinda works. Kinda. Because it's a shrine, it's a little bit more fancy, so then the mosaic kinda works. This is all just me trying to excuse myself from making a mistake. But here, again, more plants, because I just like to place a lot of plants. It makes the area feel a little bit more organic, a little bit more nature-y. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. But I also want to quickly put in a boat that is, or yeah, it's a boat. The ship is a bit too big. But I wanted to build a boat that's basically just still under construction. But I think that is going to be the end for it today. The end of the ramble. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye bye!